With the goal of eradicating terrorism around the world, an international peacekeeping organization is using unmanned aerial systems combined with Hexagon technology to effectively support humanitarian mandates. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Selex ES Falco tactical UAS monitors the movements of armed groups in the region. To successfully conduct these surveillance operations and reconnaissance activities, analysts must be able to make the best use of the growing volumes of video and other intelligence data provided by the Falco UAS. Based on Hexagon Geospatial technology, Motion Video Exploitation Solution enables Selex ES analysts to handle large amounts of multi-intelligence data from the UAS. Now, these analysts are easily providing immediate data interpretations and advanced reporting to the decision makers in a short time. Ultimately, this solution is facilitating essential situational awareness, enabling commanders to take decisive action based on a greater understanding of the situation, and, overall, provide better civilian protection.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hexagon Geospatial President, Laden Stojan.
Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I'd also like to welcome all our online guests who are connected online and globally. It's been a great show so far, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of good sessions. I'm super excited to be here today, and certainly very happy to share some really cool things that we talked about last year, but we've certainly spent the last 12 months really working on, developing, and so forth. You'll notice a common theme in many of my presentations, and frankly, Hexagon's presentations around change. Change triggers fear. And fear, as we all know, if you ask Yoda, fear is something that can be a paralyzing and really a disabling force. But we have an opportunity when it comes to change, and that opportunity is really a choice to frankly fearlessly experience change. And my session today is really about that, the experience and really the fearless experience associated with change. I'll go through a couple of slides on things I personally like to do, but are frankly somewhat scary at times. Imagine, if you will, a surfer. And really the feeling, if you've ever surfed before, the feeling as you paddle out and you see the swell build up and you're paddling towards that break, and you really have to position yourself, as you see this person doing, in the right position as that wave starts moving, so you could take advantage of that wave and move forward and certainly catch that wave. Moving forward, the skier as that person or that individual previews that narrow mountain chute and really has to plan the descent down that mountain. Or the sky jumper, if you've ever sky jumped, that overwhelming fear, you're looking at that light, that green light turn on, and you know it's your time, and you have to make that jump and really land it, right? Or perhaps the deep sea diver. If any of you have done diving before, it's a lot of fun, but that pressure as you drop down and descend, especially if you're doing something like a wreck dive, the intensity, the buildup, that feeling is both scary, but frankly very wonderful. If you've bungee jumped, the nervousness in your stomach, those butterflies building up as you edge closer to the cliff before you make that jump, okay? Or public speaking. I like public speaking, but I also get nervous, and when I first started public speaking, it's certainly very scary. But unfortunately, the fear associated with public speaking has silenced a lot of people who have a very good story to tell, okay? They haven't been able to get over that fear. Let me switch a little to technology, this Darth Vader sort of image behind me here. Technology is also changing very quickly and very rapidly. And with any change, it can be very daunting and also very intimidating. And of course, we're always hearing about these new buzzwords, things like big data, analytics. You'll hear me talk about them, so I do apologize in advance. Internet of Things, and I may create a new couple of buzzwords today. But anyway, we're hearing a lot of these buzzwords, and frankly, we don't really understand how they apply to our day-to-day business. We know we have to move beyond status quo, but we're challenged on how to just do that. And unfortunately, the uncertainties or perhaps the lack of knowledge lead to fear, which of course limits our adoption of some of these really cool things, preventing us from fully embracing something that's very different. I'll hone in on three specific areas that I'll weave into today's discussion and presentation, the first of which is big data. Over the years, organizations and agencies around the world have approved budgets to spend a lot of money on content. And just visiting these customers, I know a lot of that stuff just sits on the shelf. The problem is a lot of our customers can't find it, but when they do get it, they don't know what to use it for. All these files are long, alphanumeric strings, and frankly, they just don't make sense. I have a question. Have we become geospatial data hoarders? We're always afraid to get rid of stuff, okay? We're hoarding geospatial data, and we're really preventing others from fully using it and really getting access to it and making wise information decisions from it. Unfortunately, that's prevented us from investing more and ultimately getting new data into our businesses and workflows. We've never seen an explosion like we have now in our industry with all this new content from multiple sources being collected. Everything from UAVs, which are really cool, mobile mapping sensors, oblique imagery, all these cool new microsatellites that we're seeing out there. We've never seen such an explosion in the amount of content and all these new data sources that are being available. But if we translate that to business, okay, we look at whether it's national mapping agencies or engineering firms, they've honed their workflows down over many years. But when you inject a new source of content into that workflow, it really becomes problematic on how to maintain your productivity and operational efficiency while leveraging that content into a workflow, okay? And that's a problem. A lot of talk about analytics. And I think we have to step back and look at analytics and really ask ourselves what it is. As we all know, we're always, including myself, we're always being asked to do things better, faster, and still come out with the best result, right? When we talk about analytics, and I'll hone in on the geospatial element of analytics, we have available to us a tremendous amount of operators, raster operators, vector operators, non-spatial operators, and so forth, but we don't know what to do with them. And I think we've spent too much time talking about operators and not enough time talking about how to communicate the results of an analytical process so it ultimately makes sense. And we certainly need to overcome these fears and overcome our inability to leverage geospatial analytics with communicating those results to other people so that we can leverage the power of multi-source content and ultimately extract information that makes sense. So I've quickly and briefly introduced you to the situation, fears, excitement, and so forth. Last year at this conference, we introduced something we called Project Windmill. It's codenamed Windmill. And I'm asking the audience and the industry at large to join us on a transformational journey, which really entails a fearless experience as we learn how to overcome some of the issues, obstacles, and ultimately the fears that have prevented us from fully exploiting fun, dynamic, and experience-filled applications. The reason we chose the concept associated, or perhaps the analogy associated with the windmill, and if we step back and look at that story, the wind is a raw kinetic source of energy. And the windmill, and particularly the wind turbine, transforms that raw kinetic source of energy into power, something that's very, very useful, that powers our world and so forth. Let's apply that concept or that analogy to the geospatial industry. What is the wind? The wind is content. It's everywhere, right? The windmill is the software, the engines that transform that content into information that's powerful, that drives our world, that helps us make smarter decisions so we could move forward and move ahead. Okay? That's the concept associated with Project Windmill. And at this year's conference, you're going to hear us talk a lot about the windmill and how it relates to the industry and how we're moving forward. To do this, we rely on our partners. As an organization, we are truly partner-driven and focused. We have over 150 partners around the world focused on solving local problems with Hexagon Geospatial's solutions. Our partners, you, are an extension of our family, and together we are working to make sense of our dynamically changing world. Partners extend our footprint globally, focusing on those local solutions with our platforms in order to develop and build creative, meaningful solutions with our technology stack. Today you'll look at a lot of new developments that, frankly, we couldn't have done without the support of our partners, whether they're content partners, technology partners, regional partners, solution partners, and so forth. Let's start with what we did last year and what we announced last year. That was the Power portfolio. This is our complete and comprehensive geospatial platform for building enterprise geospatial solutions. This constitutes and really includes all of the geospatial genres associated with GIS, remote sensing, photogrammetry, and we've tied and integrated and unified those capabilities, not just in the desktop with our authoring products to produce content, but throughout our stack, throughout the portfolio. So the desktop products are the producer suite. They produce geospatial content. Once that content is produced, we have the ability to provide it as content as a service. Once that content is available, we can build very complex and sophisticated and beautiful geospatial solutions that help make sense of that content, delivering information value add. This includes both web and mobile-based capabilities. Today, you will be hearing a lot about how we're extending the power of the Power portfolio in different ways. And you'll hear me talk a lot about the cloud. Specifically, 3 areas I will focus on. The first of which is the ability to access our flagship desktop products, Imagine and GeoMedia, on the cloud. The second thing you'll hear me talk about is this concept and notion of being able to host content online, on the cloud, and deliver it as a service. And then the last thing I'll talk about is the application platform, or a geospatial application platform on the cloud that our partners and customers can use to build applications that deliver an information service. After launching the Power portfolio last year, we were approached by many customers and partners who were very impressed with the depth of capability and functionality within that stack. But given our annual release cadence, which is frankly quite unique, and different changes throughout the year with new releases and so forth, minor releases and so forth, a lot of these organizations that have many instances of these applications have a hard time keeping up with the IT overhead associated with installing new versions, licensing, et cetera, et cetera. Additionally, as these organizations deploy field crews regionally or globally, in fact, they want to be able to access that same capability. Okay, so we were approached with partners and customers with a request. I want to be able to use Imagine and GeoMedia online. After assessing the challenge, we've identified a way to solve this problem. Okay? And at this year's show, at this year's conference, I'd like to announce the availability of Producer Online, which basically includes Imagine Online and GeoMedia Online. Here you'll see a quick demonstration of Imagine Online. Going to our store, our website, you'll be able to preview the capabilities available with these online products. If you're new to these products, you'll be able to explore the various workflows and capabilities available by accessing such a system online as a subscription. Once you've identified what you like, you could certainly try it, but once you've identified what you like, you sign up. And by signing up, we will activate through the cloud your ability to access both Imagine and GeoMedia Online as a subscription service. Okay? Once activated, you'll get an email. Once you get that email, you'll be able to select your ability to activate the account, and then that launches a process. Okay, and I'll explain what that does. Once you activate, a request is sent to the cloud. That request sends Imagine and GeoMedia and ultimately pages that product to your local machine, your local desktop. It subsequently uses the local computing resources available on your desktop and allows you to execute the product like that. Now, I've missed one thing, and it's a very important thing: data. Do I have to put my data on the cloud? No. We recognize the sensitivity associated with many geospatial data assets. For that reason, we've come up with a very clever and unique solution that allows you to page and consume both Imagine and GeoMedia online through the cloud while using your local computing resources, but allows you to use your local data. You don't have to put your data on the cloud, and that's pretty cool. Given the geospatial depth of the power portfolio, many of our partners and customers often build very unique solutions that solve mission-critical problems. And using the platform suite, we offer both web and mobile-based solution frameworks for building those solutions. This includes solutions in areas such as defense intelligence, government, natural resources, mining, oil and gas, transportation, and more. I could show you many examples, but I'll focus on one pretty cool one that we were working on together with Intergraph Government Solutions, IGS. Okay? And this is an example showing the power of what's possible with the platform suite. But let me give you some context. Many decades ago, multiple sources of content were used to basically identify, annotate, and share intelligence. If we recall what happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis, something called an ELT, an electronic light table, was commonly used to take photography, lay that photography out, and look at that photography to look at trends, activity, measure things, annotate things, share things, create maps, etc. That was a pretty cool thing because it helped solve what happened as a result of the Cuban Missile Crisis. But the process is very labor-intensive and really requires a lot of hours of work going through all these archives of photography, etc. With the digital revolution, things have changed. Okay, we've now moved from the ELT to now what we're calling the GLT, the Geospatial Light Table, which is now a web-based application that gives you the power of an ELT, but all in a browser. And let's look at that. Using the power and flexibility of our platform suite, we now have the ability to connect to multiple sources of content, pull those content and synthesize those data sets in a web browser, and do all the things you were able to do both with a desktop application and traditional heavyweight applications built for this particular purpose. We have the ability to directly tap into the metadata associated with these data sets and conduct very accurate photogrammetric measurements against this content. Okay, so we can pull the content, we could connect to many different content stores, we can pull that content, select it, and ultimately exploit that content within a web browser. Here you can see an example of just placing points onto your surface and measuring things. But beyond that, let's look at analytics and applying geoprocessing in the same environment against these multiple sources of data. We could connect elevation sources with raster data and look at things like line of sight analysis. Okay? So this is the power of moving beyond the ELT to a web-based GLT, allowing us to connect to multiple sources of content, not just look at it, measure on it, annotate it, but really apply analytics against it so we can get more value, more information from these very diverse data sources. Let's talk a little bit about big data, okay? And we'll turn our focus to that. There are many challenges associated with big data. It's big. We have storage issues, we have access issues, we have exploitation issues, et cetera. But when we look at big data and sort of apply that to our daily lives, it's no different. Within our lives, there's just so much data traffic that many times it leads to chaos. And with all this data, we need to be able to quickly sift through it and quickly identify the right data source to use for a given application. To address this challenge, we need to be able to quickly marshal and direct our solutions to the right content source in order to drive the delivery of real-time geospatial information services. This, of course, requires the ability to identify, organize, and ultimately share connections to geospatial content that are always and readily available. This is really an overwhelming challenge given just how much data is out there. To solve this, we need to be able to easily connect to relevant and reliable global coverages of content sources. I'm very pleased to announce a recent partnership with Airbus Defence and Space. This is really mind-blowing. They collect over 4 million square kilometers of content every day. That's a lot of data. That's really big data, okay? And it's important for Hexagon Geospatial that our solutions and the applications our partners build have ready and immediate and relevant access to that content so we can quickly deploy information services against that content. But let's hear a little bit more about our partners such as Airbus and what they're doing and how we're working together to help solve some of the issues associated with big data.
In the past, end users would have to go to a software company and purchase sophisticated software. They would also then separately have to go to satellite vendors, purchase their data products. And what we see changing is a much closer integration between the software and the data, where you don't have to be a very sophisticated user to get the end result that you need. So Hexagon Geospatial is working closely with a number of the satellite imaging vendors. The first partnership that we're bringing is with Airbus Defence and Space. Airbus is really a leader. They have a very robust constellation in space today, a very deep and rich archive.
We've been providing information and satellite imagery to customers on an on-demand basis for almost 30 years now. We've launched an entire new satellite constellation. And they're fresh, they're new, they have tremendous capability and capacity to reach a spot on the globe once, twice a day, just about anywhere in the world.
Today, our customers can access the Hexagon imagery program and the content from that program through our existing desktop products, but we're moving into an age where people will be able to access that data through smart applications in a much more simple fashion.
We value Hexagon's approach in terms of distributing data sets that can be of use to a broad range of customers. We seek to use tools and analytics and build our own when necessary, but use those of our partners when we can to build that end solution for the customer as quickly and cost effectively as possible.
So what you have are two very well-established organizations that have a very similar mission in terms of serving the customer base. And by partnering together, we bring the strengths of both organizations.
It's really important to Hexagon Geospatial that we're able to tightly integrate content with our software.
The way OmniEarth and Hexagon Geospatial can best work together going forward is is by integrating a diverse set of tools and data sets, and then together solving a very concrete end user problem.
And this really is evident in terms of the customer interest, the development of the applications, and the fact that we've seen this business start to grow in a relatively quick pace.
And that's the way we seek to work with our customers, is to find what their reoccurring business uncertainty problems are and build a solution that brings external outside data together with analysis to reduce and relieve that uncertainty.
Through the smart applications that Hexagon has developed, it allows the users to really increase their level of information superiority and to take that information and use it on a near real-time daily basis that supports their mission, their business objective, their humanitarian efforts.
We also recognize that many of our customers have a lot of existing data within their organizations, okay? And they really struggle to manage and get that content out to their users within the organization. Today, I'd like to announce a new offering, a new capability that we're launching this summer, okay? And I want you to really think about this as the geospatial version of Dropbox, okay, which is pretty cool. And this is called Map Chest. Okay, this will be a cloud-based service that allows you to upload geospatial content from anywhere and then subsequently allows you to share that content with others anytime and anywhere. The service itself is hosted on Amazon, and because it's a cloud service, all of your existing applications and solutions, whether they're desktop, web, and mobile, will be able to connect to that store and be able to pull content from that store as a service. This service will allow you to upload, compress, and ultimately catalog and deliver your geospatial content. Let's take a look at a quick demonstration and example of what I'm talking about. The first thing you do, of course, after you log into the service is go through your file choosers or your network and select the data that you want to upload. Okay? We support a variety of different raster and elevation formats, so you could certainly get that existing data into the application. But once the data is uploaded, you have the opportunity to compress it. Now that's important because the cost of storage is still high, and you want to minimize your storage footprint by compressing it, and we certainly provide you to do that with things like ECW and JPEG as well. Once you've uploaded that content, you could then publish that content, which means you could publish it through a variety of different services that we have available to you. This includes things like OGC web services, streaming services such as ECWP, allowing you to then publish it and ultimately get access to that content through GIS, CAD, and a variety of different custom applications that you may have built. The program itself is quite ideal for UAV providers. Okay, there's a lot of UAV content that's being collected, and this gives them a service for uploading that content onto the cloud and ultimately accessing it at a later date. It's also very useful for cities, counties who have large repositories of image data, elevation data, and GIS data, and want to make that data available through the cloud. We're offering 4 plans, starting with the starter package, which is free of charge, up to 1 gigabyte of storage, all the way through to a professional plan, which allows you to access over 1 terabyte of content on the cloud. Each plan provides the same level of functionality, giving you access to those data sets as OGC web services and image streaming protocols. Now we will spend some time talking about workflow clarity. We all find comfort while relying on the same workflows to do our jobs. But when you inject a new source of content into an existing workflows, many times your productivity is compromised. While all these new sources of content remain unclear, we need the ability to streamline these sources into our existing workflows and also create new workflows. With the exciting availability of these new data sources, from microsatellites to UAVs to mobile mapping systems, we need a clear strategy for fusing these sources into our existing and new workflows. With hundreds of new UAV manufacturers entering the market every year, along with the new policies, at least in the United States, that have opened up the skies for these UAVs, we both have a challenge and an opportunity to streamline and automate the workflows associated with going from the sensor to information.
We jokingly often say you needed at least a PhD to process a certain amount of data. Today, everybody can do it.
UAV data collectors know that their offering has to be competitive.
We believe that cloud processing plays a key role in the new business models, and we need new business models.
The market is changing, and that Hexagon and Hexagon Geospatial is able to address these changing markets and continue to deliver benefit to its customers. UAV technology today is, of course, still an emerging technology, and we see on a daily basis an ever-growing offering out there in the marketplace, both for hardware and also for software. We are using UAVs because they shorten processing time, they ease access to certain difficult areas, and as that, it's a logical consequence that you want to process the data faster than anyone else or faster than the traditional methods of data acquisition.
Redcatch entered the UAV space with the goal to make it easier for data collectors to process their data and to deliver information to their customers. We are using Hexagon Geospatial lightweight application.
Geosystems enables Redcatch really to optimize the already existing photogrammetric service portfolio. We think UAV business means really a smart combination of UAV data itself, and very important, the derived information. All this has to be fast, easy, and reliable. This is the challenge. The Geosystem solution enables the Redcatch's customer to process the UAV data autonomously without any additional investment, and unfreezes Redcatch to focus more on value adding on the data instead of just processing the raw data. For the customer, this means this new technology by Hexagon Geospatial unburdens from expensive hardware and software investments.
Having smart light applications that allow non-experts to produce very good data with the same accuracy, with the same certainty of standards, with the same certainty of results is something that is very much required in this industry. It will allow us to be faster, it will allow our customers to be faster, it will allow our customers to focus on certain applications, and with that, of course, we are much more flexible to address the needs of our changing environment. I think today, if you are a UAV operator, it's probably not so much about the flying anymore, but much more about providing the information about a certain topic.
By enabling the development of elegant and industry-specific application that can be quickly implemented, Hexagon Geospatial is taking the geospatial industry really to the next level.
With the intent to streamline the workflow associated with sensor to information using UAV sources, I'd like to announce and introduce a joint collaboration with our partner in Germany, Geosystems Germany GmbH. This involves the development and ultimate deployment of a fully automated UAV cloud-based solution. This solution works on Amazon, will allow you to automatically create GIS and CAD-ready data sets that you could ingest into your workflows, such as orthomosaics, point clouds, etc. As part of this workflow, we are automating the process associated with point matching, aerial triangulation, elevation extraction, orthomosaic, but we're also cataloging all of that data and then service enabling that content so you can access it from the web, mobile, and other application solutions. Let's look at a quick demo of this solution. The first thing you do is log on. Once you log on, you can create a new UAV project or access an existing project. But typically, the first step is uploading UAV imagery. Once again, we support many, many formats when it comes to imagery being uploaded into the system. Once the data has been uploaded, you have to specify the orientation information, which is typically held in a file. You upload that file, and then that information is automatically extracted and applied to each image in the project. Once you set up your project parameters, you have the ability to execute that project, and what happens is it streamlines that whole workflow, okay? Point matching, aerial triangulation, orthomosaic, and ultimately produces those products. You then have the ability to preview those products, run some QA analysis against that data, and ultimately make sure it's ready. In this project alone that you're looking at here, we processed over 1,000 images at 4-centimeter resolution. Okay, that's a lot of data. But because it's on the cloud, we have the ability to streamline and really speed up the productivity associated with that process, leveraging the machinery on the cloud. Okay? So it's not just imagery. Okay? It automatically extracts elevation data, and that data, when fused with imagery, can be used for many diverse applications, both for GIS and CAD. And that's pretty cool. So if we look at the sensor to information workflow, we've taken a very traditional process and fully automated that. And if you look at the explosion of UAVs we now have in the market, with all these UAVs coming out, we have the ability to support them by logging on, uploading their UAV project data, and ultimately streamlining the entire process associated with the sensor to information workflow, producing accurate and reliable data that can be used and ultimately shared with others as standard OGC services, but also as streaming protocols for both imagery and point cloud data. And that's very, very powerful. Let's move on. Moving to the ground, we've also seen a huge explosion in the use of mobile mapping systems. Here you see the Leica Pegasus 2 system. And these systems are very useful for recording, digitally recording, very vast and large stretches of networks, be they transportation networks or utility corridors and networks. Traditionally, field crews would have to go out there and survey that area with paper and pen. That takes a long time. Then they'd have to go back in the office and translate what they collected into their software package. It's just not useful. Now with mobile mapping sensors, we have the ability to permanently capture snapshots of geography and transform a transportation and utility network into a digital experience. If we look at just the United States alone and how much area we're talking about, okay, if we were to achieve our vision of establishing a dynamic GIS, we would have to continually capture and process and integrate tremendous amounts of content into these workflows. That's a lot of work, and that's a lot of data. And you want to make sure it's done in a very performant way so you maintain your productivity levels and operational efficiency. With this year's release of GeoMedia 3D, we are introducing support for point clouds captured from mobile and terrestrial laser scanners. Here you can see a very large point cloud covering a stretch of highway collected with the Leica Pegasus 2 mobile mapping system. And that content is being streamed to this application for the purpose of conducting asset-based management and inventory solutions. Fusing this new content with an existing geodatabase of feature data and attribute data, we then have the ability to run analytics, but more importantly, update the content, the information within a database with these new sources, as we see with this example. Here we have point cloud data collected from terrestrial laser scanners. When we overlay that content with an existing GIS database, we have the ability to update that data using that very accurate point cloud as an authoritative reference source. So we now have the fusion of GIS, which has historically been 2D, to 3D for the purpose of conducting asset management, inventory, and et cetera. So you can only imagine the types of possibilities available to us with these wonderful new sources of content and how we can integrate them into our workflows. And this is just one example with asset management and inventory. Not sure if you were able to pick up on what you just saw here, but unfortunately with last year's Ebola outbreak in Africa, you just saw a visual experience of information relating to that outbreak, some statistics associated with, unfortunately, the toll on human life and the spread of that disease throughout different portions of Africa. What's important here, and the reason we showed this, is that we need to be able to quickly extract insightful information, but not only information, answers from content. Okay, that's the key to this last section. But to start that discussion, we have to step back and frankly ask ourselves some very fundamental and basic questions. Over many centuries, we've seen a progression in the production and use of maps. With that, we've also seen the underlying economy and technology associated with mapping change a lot. Looking forward and moving ahead, we need to ask ourselves one question: what is the map of the future? We believe the map of the future is not a map because we need something more, something new. The mapping products produced today are static. They're not alive. They are a reflection of what was. And unfortunately, they do not easily give us answers. We need maps that are alive. We need maps that are fresh. The map of the futures not only tell us what was, but they need to tell us what is, they need to tell us what can be, and what will be. Our customers and partners have asked us for something different, something game-changing, but we can't do it alone. So we've worked with our partners and established some strategic relationships to help us define and ultimately build the map of the future.
Milton Keynes is a new city about 50 miles outside London, and it's the UK's fastest growing city and economy. As a council, we're trying to use new and innovative approaches to provide services that are more bespoke to the lives and interests of our citizens.
The Satellite Applications Catapult is a new type of innovation centre set up to accelerate the transfer of technology from the research sector into business.
It was established 2 years ago by the UK government. But it's a private company, so we also operate like a commercial business. And it is here entirely to benefit the sector.
So our job is to look at those needs that industry have, find the answers from emerging technology, help it through the readiness scales and get it into industry, to allow industry to address those markets.
And the catapult to us is an enabler, it's an accelerator.
The space sector in the UK has been identified as an area that they want to grow.
And it's all about using space infrastructure and existing space assets in normal business use.
We saw the opportunity there because they in effect were looking for challenges to solve.
In the UK, there is an awful lot of pressures for central and local governments to reduce their budgets, but to continue to deliver services they've always had to, which means they have to find rather innovative ways to change the way they procure and then do their own work internally.
One of the key applications for us is the use of satellite data and combining that with other data to provide us with better utility and other insights into how we can perform better and deliver services in a more effective way. So for an example, some of the combinations of data involve looking at high-resolution imagery of the city and having views about how it's growing, where new developments are happening.
They'd already engaged the catapult to see if space could help. The catapult then engaged with us. We looked at the problem, and in partnership with the catapult, we provided support and technology which started to deliver real benefits, real value to Milton Keynes around the planning environment initially, to try and solve some key issues.
So the partnership we've built up here with Sterling Geo and Hexagon is exactly what we've been set up to do, and we're really excited about what we've already done and the potential for the future.
We're seeing a lot of other towns now looking at Milton Keynes and actually trying to change their ways and behaviours to adopt this approach as well.
Every time we show a satellite image from someone new from the council, they see something new. That, oh, I can see how this is going to help me do X, Y and Z.
I think what is important is that we're seeing a willingness by Hexagon to actually innovate, both in terms of technology itself, but then also how that technology is packaged and provided to companies like us who are trying to innovate on the basis of using it.
I think the cool thing that Hexagon are looking at is ways that individuals and organisations can access data. and there's a bunch of apps that are about to come in the marketplace which we're very excited about seeing.
If there are software packages that make our life easier in order to start the process of our data analytics, then so much the better for us.
What we're looking at is a culture change in public service delivery, and making ease of use is one of the key things that's going to make that happen, and I think that's a key differentiator of this technology as well.
In the next 5 years, the use of smart maps, that is how people will expect to absorb various data streams.
It's advancing incredibly quickly. Every moment, it seems, there is new thoughts, new ideas, new opportunities, and it's exemplified with the smart maps piece, which to me is the single biggest step in our industry and potentially for the application of geospatial data, I would say, in the last 20 years or so.
What we're essentially doing is aggregating people's demands and being able to use the Hexagon technology so that people can access the information that they need and answer the questions that they want answered.
So Hexagon have given us the most amazing box of Lego imaginable. And in that box, we have functionality, capability that we can use to create new workflows, new analytics. So we might come up with a new idea that we can use in the UK using the Lego box. Then the German distributor can use that, the Dutch distributor can use that, the Scandinavians can use that, they can put their own twist on it. That's absolutely fine.
This is a game changer. This is a revolution, not an evolution.
So this is a step change for us. This isn't just about small projects in 1 or 2 local authorities. This is about a big opportunity.
The Hexagon technology stack is extremely diverse. It's got a whole range of applications in there. And even though we are old hands at this, we feel, we're only just scratching the surface.
Working with partners such as those you've just seen has really opened our eyes and helped us define what the map of the future really is and needs to be. The map of the future has to reflect change as it happens, while providing information as a service that is relevant, current, and ultimately makes sense. The map of the future has to reflect not only what was, what is, what can be, and what will be. The map of the future has to be and must be smarter. It has to fuse content with software wrapped as a solution and then delivered as a service. The map of the future is a Hexagon smart map. At Hexagon, we are working on developing and providing a modern cloud-based platform for building and using the map of the future. like that song, it makes me happy. Based on over 100 years of collective IP and mapping know-how, we have integrated and unified the key geospatial genres associated with GIS, remote sensing, photogrammetry, and cartography, all into one cloud-based geospatial application platform. This online experience is for you, our partners, and our customers to both design, develop, and ultimately market and sell purpose-built applications that deliver an information service. Based on the combined power of the producer, provider, and platform suite, we have harvested and cloud-enabled the capabilities within the Power portfolio to form the Map portfolio. The Map portfolio is what's used to produce smart maps. This includes 3 suites: the Map Foundation, which is the core geospatial engine technology operating on the cloud; the Map Studio, which is a graphical online workbench for stitching together workflows, geospatial analytics, business intelligence, and constructing and publishing that smart map. And then lastly, the Map Exchange, which is an online experience for publishing and ultimately selling and marketing your online Hexagon smart maps. I'd like to show you an example of a pretty cool smart map, but before I do that, let me give you some background and some context. We've been approached by many cities and counties and local governments around the world to provide a smarter mapping application that can regularly update and give them information about the changing landscape associated with green space and gray space. Green space is vegetation, grass, trees, etc. Gray space are roads, buildings, and so forth. Without understanding the rate of change, it's hard to impact that change. It's hard to understand the impact of that change when planning officials have to produce urban plans, zoning designations, establishing whether an agricultural or green space area can be rezoned to commercial, residential, etc. Left unmanaged, our cities and towns will no longer have any green space. This can negatively impact not only human development, but also personal property, infrastructure, etc. We built a smart map to help solve this problem and provide answers. Let's have a look at it. What you're seeing here is an online experience working together with Sterling Geo and Catapult for using what we call the Green Space Analyzer. And I want you to think about what's happening behind the scenes. You see a little ticker up there that gives you a percentage of gain or loss of green space over what area, over what administrative unit, and over what time period. That's information. But not only that, you can see the map is in the middle of that, but you don't necessarily need a map. The map is there to select areas that you're interested in getting information or answers about. But we've overlaid and integrated business intelligence that corresponds to analytics for providing that result. We've looked a lot about how people visualize change, everything from Yahoo Finance and how the stock market with tickers look at stock changes, all the way through bus schedules and how online experiences are providing information about change. Our goal is to give you the ability to envision and visualize information about our dynamically changing world through the establishment and use of Hexagon smart maps. It's not just a map. It's an app that delivers an information service, and in this case, it's green space information. You can see the ratio between green space and gray space dynamically changing as you select any component of this application. And it's all for you to customize. You're not stuck with a heavy GIS or a remote sensing package. We've fused those genres together to establish one unified platform on the cloud that allows you to connect to multiple data sources, pull those data sources in, establish an analytical recipe against them, tied to a business workflow, and ultimately communicated through business intelligence. It's the communication that is critical. The ability to communicate answers and information is what Hexagon Smart Map is all about. Our goal, our vision, and our mission is to transform the power of geography to the entire world. And our goal is to change the corresponding geospatial economy so that any user can build a smart map, but more importantly, use the information from a smart map to make wiser and ultimately smarter decisions. Over the next several months, you will be hearing a lot from Hexagon Geospatial regarding Hexagon Smart Map and all of the exciting other initiatives that I've presented today. If you're at this conference right after this session, we have a dedicated session just on smart maps. Okay, so I would urge you to attend. If you're not at this event, which you should have been at, you can go online to smartmap.hexagongeospatial.com and sign up for our beta program and be part of this fearless experience. For our customers and partners, we will be conducting training courses this year, and you have the ability to sign on as a beta user and get trained on how to build and use and ultimately deploy smart maps. I'd like to take this opportunity to officially invite you to Hong Kong. And if you haven't been to Hong Kong, it's a really cool city. I would certainly like you to be there with us as we launch Smart Map and the Power Portfolio 16 and, of course, the Map Portfolio. It will be a great show, and I want you to be part of this fearless experience of change as we work towards making sense of our dynamically changing world. On that note, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and certainly look forward to working with you in the future as we change the geospatial economy and the overall industry. Thank you very much.